Welcome to Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Two gals on the prowl for enlightenment, sex, and all things holy. Holy Fuck. Each week, beauty alchemist and transformational coach and speaker, Katherine McClelland, and spiritual healer and life coach, Krista Kim, discuss navigating spiritual consciousness in a real human body. Stumbling through dating, relationships, and everyday life, all while maintaining a fucking sense of humor. Oh my gosh. Welcome everyone to the Holy Fuck podcast. This is Krista.
And this is Katherine. Good afternoon.
Katherine
friends.
Just had, well, it's not
trauma.
Funny. It's not
funny. She's laughing at my trauma. Do you hear her laughing? I'm not good with that. Okay, Krista, you want to tell us what happened since you assaulted me?
Well, just the big computer plug fell out of the plug and fell directly on Katherine's foot.
On my big toe. Okay, not just anywhere, but on my big toe. I have, from the fires last year, I still have a broken toe. I still have a messed up little pinky, and now I have a messed up big toe. So Krista, of course, posed the spiritual question, what does it mean to hurt your toes? Thinking I already knew the answer.
Well, we Googled it. Which we kind of knew. You kind of.
I did know the answer.
So,
guess what the answer is? Fear of moving forward.
What? Not you. Not me.
I've never had any problem with commitment in my life. Ever. Said no one ever.
Oh, well.
But definitely said not me. So, I apparently have a commitment issue because I have 4 toes that are having problems right now.
Hammer time, hammer toes.
Hammer toes. Yeah, I got a little of that too. Okay, so.
What are you afraid of moving forward on?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that.
Well,
okay.
Hello.
Well, now we're back to authenticity.
Dump it on your foot.
Seriously, I've never had that happen, that one of those dang plugs like leapt out of the wall, and I'm still bleeding. I want you to know I'm bleeding right through my bandage, so it wasn't like a minor little bleed. It also is not a major bleed, so no one worry. I'm sure you're not. I'm worried. So where did I flate? What?
Yes.
Let me try that again.
You're afraid of moving forward with that sentence?
Apparently. I can't even speak forward. So, afraid of moving forward, Krista. Let's see. Okay. So, only one thing comes to mind.
Which is?
It does have a little something to do with relationship.
What?
Can you believe it? Yes. So
I haven't talked to you in a while, so update me on all of your relationships.
Right. You don't. So there's a whole lot going on over here in my precious life. And one of those things, just to mention it in passing, is that my mom is going through a series of health challenges, and I am here. My brothers are out of town all over the world. And so I am the one. So that has been preoccupying me, but I have found a few minutes to create.
Not even that can stop
Not even
you.
That can stop my relentless pursuit of relationship. So anyway, so there's been relentless pursuit of relationship going on, and both of these characters are long distance.
Ah.
So I'm curious because all of my brothers are long distance. All the men in my life are long. My father has passed, so he's long distance.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is that?
And a lot of my male friends on social media, whatever, have reached out, and they're all long distance. Interesting. Okay, so I got some long distance stuff going on.
So the first thing I'm hearing is why are you creating the separation?
Distance.
Right off.
Because I guess that I don't know. If I knew, probably wouldn't be doing it. So I'm going to guess there's a little fear going on here. I don't know if any of you know anything about that. And some people, my guess is, create distance in the same town with people. Like they can pull away and they can be distant, and that I like to keep my people.
You're like, that's not going to be good enough for me.
I'm too codependent. I'd have to talk to them at the pool or the grocery store or something, or see them at the red light. Hate that when you're at the red light. You're all, oh,
welcome to my world. How come all of mine end up being in town?
Because you have an in-town thing and I have an out-of-town thing.
I'm going to have to change that.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about going the other direction, though. So maybe we just shake us up in a bag.
Maybe there's a middle ground.
Or maybe there's a middle ground. This woman said to me, "This is so great." I was saying something about these two men, and she said, I say you just go right for the flame.
What does that mean?
She's like, go for the center of the fire. Whatever one, like really pulls you into the center of the fire. And she said, if neither of them are here, are they really pulling you into the center of the fire? Question mark.
So what's your answer to that?
So my answer to that is I feel very safe when my men are halfway around the world or at least 3 states away. I just have to say that's true. So I think I'd prefer my brothers to be a little closer. But
that's just because you want something.
But maybe only in my mind because apparently they're not closer. So
yes. Relationship number 1.
So relationship number 1, oh gosh, I just think men are fabulous. So I want to be really careful about not designating one of these number 1 since I am so non-committal. That would be exactly my first concern.
Okay, is there another way to put it?
So let's just call one relationship L and one relationship C. Okay. And if you try to guess what those are, you are never going to get it.
Okay.
Because they're not someone's name.
Okay.
They're just something else. Relationship L. Very, very interesting. So many things to learn from relationship L because I have had the opportunity to catch myself making up the most incredible stories about what another human being of the male persuasion might be up to when I don't hear from him for 3 weeks.
Oh, we're soul sisters in that way. I do the same thing.
You know what I'm talking about? Anybody out there know what we're talking about? Forget 3 weeks. How about like the text that doesn't come 2 hours or 2 days? 3 weeks I've been waiting for text from Mr. L. 3 weeks from an email. 3 weeks from anything. Or could you please call me today? Sure.
But what does that feel like inside when that happens?
Well, because of the story I make up, it feels really bad. But what I realized was once I caught, what am I thinking about this person? And would I even consider dating the person I'm thinking about this way? If he really was the person that I think would behave that way, so why would I be dating him? Because the stories would be like, he's an asshole, or he just, he's not that into you.
Right.
Or he has 10 girlfriends where he is, and it's a long way away, so I'll never know, but I'm sure I'm right about that.
But you never seem to care about that, do you?
I'm going to care someday, I can tell you I'm going to care. But at this moment, when I'm this far away, how could I possibly care? But if I feel like I'm behind 10 other people in line, I do care about that. Like, I want to be on an even playing field.
In a 1 or 2 or 3 slot?
Yeah,
or
like 1, 2, or 3. Even if the other people are children, even if they're dogs. Like, I don't care what is priority in your life. If I'm so far down the priority list that I don't hear from you.
Yeah.
And then I get in touch with him. And when I get in touch with him, I hear all of these interesting things that I wasn't, and someone's been sick. And,
right.
Oh, someone that you're taking care of has been sick. And, someone's been visiting from the U.S. Or, someone has...
So there's a valid reason for this distance.
And it's not to say that there has been no acknowledgement that there hasn't been time passing. Like, I know it's been 3 weeks has happened. It's just that the story that I make up really makes me feel like crap in the meantime.
Great. So from a spiritual perspective, we talk about this all the time of like, whatever you are experiencing on the outside in your life, on some level, you are wanting, needing, or desiring. This is going to get woo-woo. So I'm going to say that again.
She's getting woo-woo on us kids.
Whatever you're experiencing in the outside world, in your relationships, jobs, children, health,
right.
In some way it is serving your spiritual growth, serving your soul. There's some way in which your soul is wanting this experience, needing it, or desiring.
So I can tell you exactly what this is.
Great. So why is your soul desiring that?
Well, I do think it has to do with being much more comfortable at a distance. I can be much more intimate at a distance, which sounds kind of silly, but I've noticed, and I don't know if anybody in our audience has ever noticed this, but sometimes it's way easier to be super clear and super intimate when you're in an email situation with someone or you're on a phone call with them, but it's going to end and they can't reach over and touch you when you're at the end of this conversation, or they're not going to look in your eyes because you can't see them. There's a way of the communication gets to be deeper and more intimate, but also more separate at the
you get
same
to hide
time.
a little bit, it seems like.
Yeah, so I can say all sorts of stuff that I wouldn't necessarily normally say. But it's not coming from a place where I actually have much desire to receive.
But I also heard something before that because you said, "Oh, and then it makes me feel like shit when they don't."
No. What makes me feel like shit is a story I make up about what they might be thinking. So when I get the real story about what's been going on, when I hear the respect and the caring in their voice, when I hear from them that something's been happening and that, yes, they've been busy. It's not like they went to the moon and back. When I hear what's really happening, everything inside me is like, oh, of course. When I'm alone, when I don't have any information, what I'm really working on is a lot of sort of Byron Katie level stuff of what am I making up about this person? Why am I turning this person into someone I wouldn't date while I'm trying to date them, because I'm turning them into someone who is not worthy of what I want, right? They're not the person that I want if they're going to act that way. But they're not actually doing that. I'm just making it up. So what happens is I don't get a phone call, or I don't get an email, or I don't get a response I want. And then the story comes up. Right. Now, it might be true that I'm not a high priority in this person's life, so I might actually want to check that out. Say, hi, am I any kind of priority in your life? And they're like, well, not really that much. I really just don't have that much time right now. I'm working and I have my daughters and blah, blah.
Yeah, there's different levels of what you're experiencing on the spiritual. There's do you set boundaries and take care of yourself and honor yourself? And then there's the flip side of it of like, how is it that experience serving you to move forward in your growth?
Right. And so then I think it might have even been Krista. One of my friends sent me a horoscope about why do you keep attracting unavailable men? And I read it, and it was so great because it said all of this stuff about why I was attracting them. And then it said, the last sentence was, and by the way, you're also unavailable. And that's what's really going on.
Yeah.
And it really hit me like a ton of bricks. I was really, and I sent it to him, and I said, all this while I've been telling the story that you're unavailable, and he really appreciated it. I think he was touched by the fact that I was willing to admit that I've been, quote unquote, blaming, or at least putting that on him. Like, he's unavailable. He lives so far away. He has all this going on in his life. But when the horoscope said that, it wasn't so much that you have to believe everything a horoscope says. It's when something that's true hits my body.
Gives you the piloerection.
Do you guys remember that from episode 2, piloerection? It's when you get goosebumps.
But so you have that recognition, but what I want to know is, why aren't you available?
I know. Well,
because you're so open, you're so loving, you're sexy, you engage with people, it seems like you're ready to find a relationship or do all that. Like, so why aren't you available?
I'm not sure, and I'm really curious about it. And the only reason I know I'm not available is because of what's being reflected to me. So the other man I'm seeing, we're calling him Mr. C.
Which I'm just getting what those mean. I think I got it.
You think you got it?
Yes,
okay.
I do.
So Mr. C is not, Anyway, is this amazing human being, also very different from Mr. L, and extremely kind of an intimate human being, and all of our connection is on the telephone, and frequently 2 or 3 times a day sometimes, and we have so much in common, and I can't tell you how happy I am that he's not here.
That keeps me safe.
I think so, and I don't really love the little voice, but I think she's in there. So there's some way in which I'm catching the game I'm playing by living it. So for our audience to consider, whatever's in your life, and Krista was saying this before, is a reflection of what's going on inside. You're not going on inside because of what's going on outside. It's the flip side. So that outer experience is a reflection of inner experience. So whatever I have going on, so within me, there is somewhere that is not quite ready to be receiving a committed relationship.
Right. Which is in opposition to this other side of you that is seeking a committed relationship. So our audience can see why right now Katherine doesn't have a relationship, because there's two sides of her that are internally that are battling.
Really battling.
Essence, yeah.
Really battling. And the great news about this is once you really believe that you are being given feedback from around your life, like you can't see yourself clearly. It's about blind spots, right? I can't see myself clearly. I can't see what I'm up to. I much prefer to talk to people who are out of my zone or even married or have girlfriends. They're great. I love to be friendly with men like that. Not overly friendly. I do not mean that. But what I'm saying is it gives me some space to be fun and funny without worrying about, oh my God, is he going to like me? Is he going to fall in love with me? Is this going to be a problem?
So can we find that place inside of us with everybody? I think that would kind of be the goal. Like, why do we do that? Why do we filter ourselves? Yeah, because we want the person to actually fall in love with us, the real us. And then we turn up and we do a song and dance and become someone that's not even real. And then we go, why don't they love us? And it's like, well, because you're not being yourself.
There's no self there to love, right? You're being some kind of persona or some kind of inauthentic aspect of yourself. So these two things go hand in hand, right? Authenticity and openness and availability to commitment, right? So it's like I'm trying to hold hands with both of them, saying I'm more and more authentic. And I notice it's much and much easier for me to be authentic with someone who lives at least 1,000 miles away. Better yet, many, many thousand miles away, so that I can feel safe enough with my authenticity. Because I think, this is what I think, interesting. I think my authenticity has gotten so important that I'm not willing to go without it, but I'm not yet willing, or haven't yet built the muscle up strongly enough to be authentic with someone who's right here, right now.
Right.
So I'll be.
I bet they're going to be right here, right now, listening to this podcast and loving. And they're they're going to be like, "What do you mean? There's an L?"
No, L and C know about each other.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you're so authentic.
Well,
I love
I'm
that.
ethical, right? This is back to our ethical slut book, because it's okay to date many people. It's okay to be polyamorous. It's okay to do whatever you want. And even
as long as all the parties involved know.
Yeah, as long as. So what was funny was Mr. L, I thought, had left the building, so to speak. I hadn't heard from him in a while. And I just assumed he'd left the building. And I had been developing something with Mr. C over about 3.5 weeks when suddenly Mr. L re-entered the building with, I'm coming to visit you.
Right. And he upped the game.
Yeah. And then I had to tell Mr. C, who asked to visit me the same weekend, strangely enough.
You didn't tell me that part.
It just happened.
Okay.
Which I thought was hilarious.
You're like, I got a full house.
I got, sorry. Yeah.
Or full vagina.
She went there. She went there without me even going there.
We hope.
So
don't even bother coming. Oh, wait.
Wait, stop. It's all going sideways now. Yeah. Yes. So then in my need to be authentic, I needed to tell Mr. C about Mr. L. Even though we weren't committed, we have nowhere near. All we have is a phone and email relationship at this point. But you can tell, like, I can feel inside me, and I'm sure you can too, when it's time to say something. Up until then, really, with Mr. L pretty much out of the picture, I figured there's never going to be a reason to say anything about this. Suddenly, they both want to visit the same weekend. Right. Okay. What's interesting about that is the minute I told Mr. C about Mr. L, should I make up names? Because this is kind of weird.
I love C&L. Just keep it going.
Okay. So Mr. L wasn't able to come. So really the imperative was to be authentic and honest and ethical. And then he wasn't coming. So now
So now is Mr. C
Mr.
coming?
C.
Well, I feel like Spirit just stepped in and like...
I think so.
I think you might be saved from something, it feels like.
I don't even know that as much as I really like both these men very much. They're very different. And I don't feel a way of choosing. So it feels fun to have...
Can we make a rating scale? Do you remember doing that in school?
Yeah, what was a rating? What can we do a rating scale on?
Where you'd be like, 1 means, like... I don't know what we did. It was like not attractive, and Tim would be the most attractive. But it doesn't. I'm not just talking about attraction.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
attraction.
all the different qualities that a person would have. And
well, it's just fascinating, and I think the most fascinating is just with the piece about commitment and how actually really I don't want either of them to visit.
You don't want either of them to visit
from the place of oh my gosh. This is going to
makes it hard to please your vagina, though.
Yeah,
again, these two opposing things. You've got this vagina who's like, see me, feel me, please me. And then the heart, which is like, no, stay away and keep me safe.
Yeah,
Who's
and
the
truth is that this isn't my first rodeo. It's not like I've never had a relationship in person. Of course I have. There's something about this being so authentic and so committed to my integrity and so willing to put who I am on the line that makes the getting to know someone much bigger. And I don't mean that I've ever lied to people. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I just haven't been as revealed.
We withhold little tidbits.
So I hold pieces of myself, right? So at this point, I haven't withheld from either of these people pieces of myself. They know everything about me, and they respond very, very differently. And to be honest, there is a little part of me that wants them both.
Yeah.
And I think
your
that's
cock
part
and
of
eat it too? I mean, your cake?
I can't believe you just said that.
Of course I did.
Fuck, after all.
I want to come back still to the part that is like, what's blocking you from being available? And I mean this, like if I were doing a session with you and I would make you just sit here and like sit with that. And like, if you close your eyes, what's that part of yourself that is scared of being available? Or what do you think's going to happen if you are full on available for somebody?
Well, I really, honestly, I think that what I just said is actually a part of it. I think choosing is extremely challenging for me. I think that almost all the times I've chosen in my life, it's felt like a little bit like a forced choice.
Or led you to sacrifice maybe something?
Maybe I did. I've done it all different ways. But the idea of what I would really want in this situation, these two men are so different.
Threesome?
No.
Dang.
No, I've been exploring this idea of having, what if I could have a relationship with more than one person? I don't want them both in my house at the same time. I'm not talking about I want the three of us to be a relationship. But what if I had one relationship with one person and one relationship with another person, and they fulfilled really different parts of me? Mr. L is a city man. He's worldly. He's funny. He's quick. He's sharp. He's snappy. He's belligerent. He's sarcastic. He's many, many things that I think is fun. He's very, very whip smart and all that, and businessy and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole piece of me. And then there's this other human being that is the kindest, most loving, nicest. So he literally calls me at the end of the day, and we sort of fall to sleep together.
Oh,
I know, because we're so far away, we really can't do that in person.
Right.
So it's this amazing, deep loving that this man has. Not that the other man isn't loving. Like, it's just different.
It's different.
And they're speaking to the two different parts of me. And honestly, I really think it's about the part of me that wants it all. The part of me that doesn't want to choose. I don't even think
so right there, though, is I feel like where the nugget is maybe there's an underlying belief of that you can't find somebody who has it all, or that person doesn't exist. I mean, that we've had that conversation before, too. I had that with my ideal scene. Like, oh, yeah, I'm building this ideal scene, and who in the hell is going to ever be able to fulfill it? But we're the only ones stopping that. That, again, that's that whatever we believe is what we're experiencing on the outside, in the outside world.
Okay, got a point there. You got a point there.
So if you believe, for our audience, if you believe that it's not possible to find somebody who can fulfill all of those sides of you, then of course that person who could do that cannot find you. And then these little puzzle pieces have to find you that you click together to create one human being that fulfills Katherine McClellan.
Which would be so great. I would love to have one human being, although really only one part of me wants one human being because clearly the others don't.
Right.
So it's fascinating which part of this is about what I think, which part of this is about what I'm learning. You know, it seems like there's all these different layers. And what we're wanting to share with you all on this podcast today, our audience, is look at it. Look at it, have fun with it. It's not like I was born yesterday, but that doesn't mean that I'm proficient at the piece I'm working on today.
Right.
And that does mean that you'll have friends who are better at the things you're not as good at, and you have to eat a little humble pie and let them talk to you about it and say, well, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? The fascinating part is, and I think this is what appeals to me about polyamory, and again, not the kind where you all live in one house, but the kind where it's almost more like, what do you call that? When you have many...
Dating multiple people.
Dating multiple people, right. And which includes having sex with multiple people. It's not dating them and then choosing before you have sex with them. You're actually choosing to have sex with more than one person, which we all know have the whole health issues on the side, which we have talked about. But if you're doing that, I keep wondering, is that actually a place that I could live? Like,
guess you're going to find out.
I don't know. These guys may give me the chance, or one of them might choose out. One of them might say, well, no, I'm not doing that. But what if we all could open our minds and open our hearts to this new generation of people, or even generations who've been around, but now there are more of them, or they're speaking louder, who are saying to us, is it really true that there's really one person that's going to fulfill everything for you? What if you had Mr. L and Mr. C? That's my version, and that's actually pretty conservative. With the young 20-year-olds that I know right now, it's Ms. L, Mr. C, and then someone trans, and then there could be 4 or 5 people. And it's not the same as sleeping around indiscriminately.
Right.
It has everything to do with choice and thoughtful action and looking for what works the best for each person.
But again, I feel like we've talked about that topic for other people, and I want to keep bringing it back to you specifically because this is your journey. And so the what ifs for everybody else, it's like it doesn't matter in this moment. It's like for you, how are you going to go about figuring out the answers to the what ifs for you?
Yeah, you know what I just thought of, Krista? That's really good, is pressing into these a little bit more deeply to see if either of them have more than what I'm thinking. Like right now, some part of me has partitioned these two people and made them separate, L and C. They're two...
Yes, and you've also kept them physically at a distance separate.
Yeah.
So when it's really hard to truly get to know all the sides of somebody when you only get to experience them in these long distant...
Very sporadically.
Yeah.
Right. So Mr. C is much more in touch. So he's actually the one that's easier for me. But so I'm intrigued with the possibility of really leaning in there and seeing, am I limiting him in my thinking? Am I saying, oh, he's this person who can't possibly be that person? He could never support me in this, or it would have to look like this in order for me to be supported in that.
What's the projection there?
Do you know it? Because I don't see it right now. What projection are you thinking of?
Well, about wanting them to fulfill all those, like you saying, can they fulfill all those different sides? I mean, maybe they're sitting there saying the same thing about you. Like, can you fulfill all their different sides? And what part of you would be irritated knowing that they were wondering if you could fulfill all those sides?
Let me think about that. I'm not...
Did that just get a puzzle going?
Yeah. I'm going to have to sit with that. I have no idea about that one. But what I do know is I feel like the most important thing about the projection is that I'm seeing my blind spots. I'm seeing that there's possibilities all over here. Either I'm afraid to commit to one person, so I'm spreading it out, or I'm limiting the people around me by not seeing them fully for all of who they are, or I'm making up stories about them that aren't true, or they're making up stories about me that aren't true. So all of this is not happening in the present moment. With both Mr. L and Mr. C, in the present moment, we're connected, intimate, and it's really lovely.
Mm-hmm. So they're both long
distance.
From a distance.
Okay.
Bring it on, Bet. Well, what I was thinking is they're both long distance relationships, but do they feel differently in the distance? Meaning, like, you keep talking about Mr. C feeling very like he checks in more, and I'm wondering if in your heart there's something that feels really connected with that. And then there's the other one. It's interesting that they're both completely different in their communication style with you, because the other one is showing you this, like, I'll get to you when I get to you, and I might check in every 2 weeks. But I'm wondering if in your heart or in your body you notice a different feeling toward them, or maybe any judgments underneath, especially for Mr. L, who maybe doesn't communicate as much.
Yeah, that's actually the thing about Mr. L, is that I've spent this whole almost year that I've known him really having to unwind stories I make up about people. Mm-hmm. Because I've wanted to make him a jerk. I've wanted to make him that he doesn't care about me. I've wanted to make up all these stories that he won't give me the time of day, blah, blah, and then I find out he has 4 email accounts. And so the one I'm sending emails to, he doesn't check every day. So aren't
we in the day and age where people forward their email accounts to one place? Come on, people. Like, really?
So it's just, right. Like, and then that goes through my mind, and I'm like, oh,
sorry, did I just create another story in your head?
You did. Thank you. But here's the thing. What's true for me to do is just be present in the moment. So my last communication with Mr. L, most present I could be, was, I hear you're not coming. It's okay with me. That's fine. I have other people in my life who are wanting to dance with me on my dance card. And so I'm moving in that direction. And if you find yourself wanting to reach out, please feel free. I might be here, might not. Mm-hmm. Really, essentially that. Right?
Did he respond?
Well, I just sent it.
Oh, okay. So in 2 weeks, you'll let us know what he says.
Probably, I'm figuring 2 to 3 weeks. And then the other person, my next move is to say, actually, I think I want to go visit him.
Because you want to keep him out of the small town?
That is certainly a piece of it. I love that you know that. I love that she knows that about me. Yes. Because until I've met him, I actually physically have not met that human being. Mr. L and I have spent some time together. Mr. C and I have actually never spent, but we've spent like a lot of intimate time, telephone,
Right.
But we physically have not been in each other's presence, so you know what that can be like.
Right.
So I would like to take that step in his neighborhood, so he never has to come to my neighborhood if that step doesn't work.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And I think I'll feel freer in his neighborhood to just...
Probably be yourself, and you're not walking around the small town with everybody knowing your name and peering over you.
And he will have that problem because he lives in a small town.
True.
So he will have the problem, but he doesn't seem intimidated by it. I'm intimidated by it, and I don't know why. But again, we could be looking at a commitment issue. We could be looking at all sorts of stuff. So we're not doctors here, right? We're spiritual scientists. We are spiritual psychologists. We are lovers. We are friends.
So what do you think the point of this is, though, for our audience with long-distance relationships?
First of all, I think you should go for it because they're very much more comfortable. I think there's really...
For you.
No, I know.
Because I feel like, I would not do well in a long-distance relationship because
Krista?
Because I'm so physically connected to people that I don't know. I wouldn't do well. I would have to work. Oh God. I would have to.
Maybe it's a limitation, Krista. Maybe you need it.
No, I know it would just bring up so much loneliness and fear and jealousy. And what about me? I just know it would just bring so much stuff that I feel like would be harder to work out at a distance. Because then you are, it's not like you're seeing each other every night before bed and getting to talk and work stuff out like on the daily.
Yeah.
It's more like time in between. And I feel like there would be a lot of suffering for me in that time. I like to just be able to talk things out really quickly.
Interesting. You know, there's a book that I read after my last breakup, called How to Survive Loss of a Love. And in that book was a poem that I found to be deeply affecting. And also a friend of mine read it at her wedding. I did her wedding. As you know, I'm a minister. And it starts with, I must conquer my loneliness alone. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's a place in me that can go too far with that, where I back away. And like we were talking about, of course, I'm way too far away and I've got only long-distance relationships. But there is a part of me that when my last breakup happened, I suffered a lot with not having someone right by my side. And I promised myself that I would never be that dependent, because I made myself suffer from that dependency. Now, I want to be in a committed partnership. I want there to be lots of
somebody
love and
you
care,
can depend on.
and that person in the space with me.
Yeah.
But if that were to break up, I don't want that to be the end of me again.
Right.
I refuse to let it go where it went last time.
But I'm wondering if that's right there, part of the story of if you just start the relationship out with a lot of distance, it's almost like this built-in buffer to make sure that it doesn't get too dependent. And it's just like, it feels safe.
Maybe 2 or 3 people is actually another way to keep it from being too intimate and too... So all of this remains to be seen, but what I hope is happening from this show today is, first of all, having men in my life is brilliant. I love men. I love having them in my life. I just think they're incredible. They're just different from us girls.
I kind of like them too.
Yeah,
I like them up close and personal.
I like them. No, don't get me wrong. I love having them in my physical space, but I love men. I love, even with our podcast. So going live in a podcast and starting to get feedback. We've been getting feedback from men.
That was so shocking to me.
Krista was like, yeah, Katherine, this isn't for men. I'm like, no, men are going to listen to us too. And I have gotten some of the most powerful, intimate feedback from men since we went live. I cannot believe what they're revealing to me.
Beautiful stuff too.
Beautiful, heartfelt, deeply connected. People I've known for a long time giving me kinds of windows into them.
Yeah, even people that we don't know. That was the most shocking thing to me. I mean, our first letter it was like our first fan letter. I'm like, oh my God. And it was so sweet and open. And I was like, wow, I just so appreciated that someone took the time to write something so intimate and heartfelt. And it made me go, wow, we're doing this and we're making a difference. Even if that one letter is all we ever receive. Right. Beautiful. I'm happy.
Absolutely. And of course, this kind of thing, when we talk about fan mail, we're talking about something different than testimonials. Because what we're talking about is when people are actually touched by what we're doing, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to touch everyone with what we're doing. We're trying to make more space for the possibility of healing, of loving on this planet, less space for the things that don't work. So we're catching ourselves at our game. We're being authentic with you because we want you to see, wow, I could try that too. Yeah. And as you can see, we are a work in progress. I am not a spring chicken, and I'm still working this.
Well, and I think that's part of like when anybody who works in the spiritual world or life coaching, therapist, that type of work, I think there's this perception of that, oh, we must have it all together, or we have perfect relationships and perfect communication and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, we're just as human as everybody. We just have a constant practice and a way in which to move through the material a little more easily, I think.
We're aware of the material because we've been taught to be aware of the material too. And that's what we
given
bring
tools.
To our clients.
Right.
And that's what we would normally bring to people who wanted to talk to us. But if you just want to know what on earth or what the fuck we're thinking, that's why you're listening. Because this is an opportunity for, we're thinking mostly women, but who knows, to have a chance to really think about relationships, partnerships, and all the ways that we relate to people in our lives. And we want you guys to have a happy, healthy life. And we want one too.
And I want this topic, I want to leave them with opening up the topic a little more. It's like, how are, because not everyone's going to experience long distance relationships. So, but the underlying thing is, Are there ways in which you are creating distance or separation in your life in order to keep yourself safe?
Great
Yeah.
question.
So ponder that, people.
Put that in your bedtime intention and
That's
smoke
right.
it. Smoke it. All right. We love you all so very much. Thank you so much for joining us here today as we find out more and more about ourselves.
Yes, baby. All right.
I love you,
Bye,
Krista.
everyone. Love
Bye.
you too. Do you want the opportunity to see the gals of Holy Fuck in person? If so, go to holyfuckpodcast.com and join our mailing list so you can find out when and where these goddesses will be transforming lives next. And yes, I know, I'm talking about myself in third person. Open your browser, type in holyfuckpodcast.com, click on mailing list, and give us your most trusty email, not that bogus one you give to Walmart. So sign up now. Not tomorrow. Now. Now. Thank you.